Hello and welcome to the live Packaging Impressions webinar, Future-Proof Your Business Advancements in Digital Printing for Label and Flexible Packaging, sponsored by Durst. I'm Linda Casey, Editor-in-Chief of Packaging Impressions, and the host of today's event. Before we get started, let me take a second to point out the resources widget at the bottom of your console. It looks like an open book. If you missed the video that played leading up to the webinar, you can click on this widget for more information on how to use your console and access other webinar resources such as today's slides. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, feel free to give a heart or a thumbs up using the reactions widget on your console. It looks like a smiley face. I'd also like to point out the Q&A panel on your console. Again, today is a live, interactive event, and we want you to be a part of the conversation. How you do that is by sending questions and comments to our speakers using this Q&A panel. Our events manager, Ashley, will also be monitoring this box for any technical questions you might have during the event. Okay, so today we have two great experts to discuss how to leverage digital printing to future-proof your business. We have Bob McSherry, President of TLF Graphics, and Barry Wendell, National Sales Manager, Label Division for Durst North America. I strongly recommend you take advantage of the deep wells of expertise that Barry and Bob have by asking them questions throughout the event. You can use the Q&A panel again to send our experts questions at any time during the event. So don't hesitate to enter those questions while they're fresh in your mind. Barry will be leading us off in today's conversation. So Barry, the mic's all yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Lindsay. And thank you to Packaging Impressions for putting this webinar together. And thanks everyone for joining and giving us the opportunity to present this afternoon. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. So I'm just going to do a fairly quick primer on Durst, who we are as a company. And then I'll turn it over to Bob, and Bob will get into more of what they do and their position in the industry and how they've leveraged various types of technology. So first and foremost, to dive into this a little bit, Durst is, we're about an 88-year-old company, and we've been in digital inkjet for 25 years. It's a core competency of Durst, and we're the technological leader in inkjet worldwide. So who we are, this is our DNA. As a company, we're a mechanical and electrical engineering company. We design and manufacture systems, modules, and machinery. And I'll give a little bit more specifics on the machinery that specifically relates to label and packaging here in a few moments. Physics and chemistry, we develop print heads, jets, inks, fluids. We research and develop all around those types of technologies. Also, software, we develop our own software to drive the machinery that we manufacture. We're not reliant on any third-party companies for color management, print shop management, RIPs, so on and so forth. It's all developed by Durst internally. We have a massive service and support organization, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the world, online and on site, and heavy focus on applications, substrates, surfaces, materials, pre and post digital print processes as well. I'm not going to cover all of the things on this slide. I just want to point out a few quick highlights. So we have just under 1,000 employees at Durst, a little over 300 million in annual sales revenue, 17 different ink series that we've developed, everything from UV, LED, low migration inks, water-based inks, inorganic, and on and on. We've got over 4,000 active installations, inkjet installations worldwide. And typically we sell 340 plus high-end printing systems annually. We're headquartered in Brixen, Italy. That's our worldwide headquarters. And then our US headquarters are located in Rochester, New York. And I just want to point out that our long-term strategy as a company, we're evolving from a specialist in digital inkjet to supplying complete solutions that cover the gamut for our customers from pixel to output. And here, just want to touch on some innovations. We've had 10 years of innovation and customer focus from Durst. Durst was the first to market with six process color printing and digital varnish with UV inkjet. First to market with chill roller for thin unsupported film and foils. First with UPIA or EU PIA and Swiss ordinance compliant low migration UV inkjet ink. And also first to market with 7 process colors printing at 80 linear meters or 262 feet per minute at full 1200 DPI resolution. And we haven't slowed down, and it doesn't stop here. As a matter of fact, I've got another slide with some very exciting news of a software hardware combination that we introduced at Label Expo 2024. So specific to labels and packaging, we began developing inkjet for labels and packaging in 2007. And we now have over 470 digital inkjet press installations worldwide and over 30 hybrid presses. In the US, we're a little over 90 digital 1200 DPI digital inkjet presses installed in the US today. So today we have it's the TAO RSC platform. The RSC platform we have a couple of different machines within this portfolio, but the RSC platform is high quality 1200 by 1200 DPI printing at flexo speeds, very low cost of operation due to high print speed, low cost and low usage of inks. I think that's very important to talk about as well, and a very, very high level of automation. The presses that we bring to market are field upgradable. There's a heavy focus on non-obsolescence. It's built into the Durst presses, and it creates a low risk investment for our customers. So because of all this, Durst customers are literally changing their businesses with this technology, and we can get more into that shortly as well. So what does RSC actually stand for? It's simple. It's resolution, 1200 by 1200 DPI, native resolution on the press, speed up to 100 linear meters per minute, 328 feet per minute, and color, CMYK, orange, violet, green, and white for up to 95% matching of the Pantone color book. This will give you an example of the presses in the portfolio today. So the press at the top, that's the TAO 340 RSCE. That press runs at 170 feet per minute, color plus white. It's 13-inch print width, full 1200 by 1200 DPI, and is actually upgradable to the RSC, which runs at 262 feet per minute. The press in the middle, that's the Durst TAO RSCI. And it's available in 13, 16.5, and 20-inch print widths. The neat thing about that press is you can start with a 13-inch version of that press. The frame is actually 20 inches, so it's field upgradable to 16.5 or 20 inches. Runs at 262 feet per minute, and we can configure that press to run at 262 feet per minute with white. And we can also run up to 328 feet per minute as well. So very high volume, very high productivity. Customers really leveraging this press to do more and more medium and long run work. And then we also have, by the way, let me back up a little bit. We have UV, LED, and low migration ink available for the RSCE. And then we have both UV and LED available for the RSCI. And then at the bottom, we showed this press for the first time in North America at Label Expo 2024. And this is the RCI hybrid platform. So we're in partnership with OMET. So this is the Durst OMET K-Jet that you see here. There's a K-Jet and there's an X-Jet. And really the difference between the two, there's a cylinder platform and a sleeve platform. So you have the option of either. But it takes the best in world-class high-end digital printing combined with, I think, the world's best web handling, best quality, most automation that I've ever seen on a flexo press, and combines those two. And it enables you to create a solution for very, very high volume work. Think very long run multi-SKU work, any kind of embellishment, any kind of thing that you can think of that you would do on flexo press, you can do with this hybrid, only at very high speed, very low waste, very short web path. And then this is when I mentioned earlier that we haven't stopped in terms of our development and bringing new technologies to market. We announced at Label Expo in Chicago, Durst Hawk AI. And this really is it's just a revolutionary software that we've developed. So we've spent the last 2.5 years feeding images, label images, basically, both good and label images with anomalies into an AI system, and educating the AI system as to what's good print and what isn't good print. So this system now, we can put a camera inside any one of our Durst RSC platform presses, combine it with this artificial intelligence software, and the press will monitor the print in real time at press speed, registration, color density, and any kind of print anomalies. Not only does it monitor those things, but it corrects them on the fly. This is a couple of years in development, and this is going to be truly, I think, a game changer for the industry in terms of digital printing. And then just finally, the RSCI platform, the advantages and benefits. Best-in-class print quality, 1200 by 1200 DPI. We are today printing flexo quality at flexo speed. 95% coverage and a very high opacity white. Leading edge productivity, printing 262 feet per minute up to 328 feet per minute. Very attractive total cost of ownership because of affordable investment costs, very competitive ink. And again, going back to reduced ink consumption. So with 1200 DPI combined with the high pigment UV inks that we've developed, the actual ink usage is lower. So not only are the consumable costs lower, the ink pricing, but the actual usage of the ink is lower as well to competitive systems. And it's future-proof. The products are scalable. Like I mentioned earlier, the RSCI platform, you can start with 13-inch and upgrade in the field up to 20-inch. You can start with a CMYK machine, add OV or G, add white. On an RCI, you can add a second white bar to further increase the speed. So there's a lot of upgradability built in that really minimizes the risk and future-proofs the press for our customers. So that's my quick summary of Durst and who we are. And what I want to do is hand it over to Bob. And I don't want to steal Bob's thunder, but I just feel it's important to tell you why that we asked Bob to join us for this webinar. TLF Graphics has been a valued partner with Durst for over 10 years now. They were the first in the market to adopt the TAL 330, 360 DPI machine that we introduced for the durable labels market. First company in North America to adopt 1200 by 1200 DPI digital inkjet with the Durst RSCI, and that was 5 years ago. And then recently in January added the high-speed, high-volume RSCI to their portfolio as well. And Bob runs an extremely successful business, and I think you'll be very impressed with his story and what he has to share today. With that, Bob, I'll hand it over to you.
Barry, thank you. Appreciate that kind introduction. Ashley and Linda, thank you for the invitation to also participate. Appreciate it very much. Barry asked if I'd share a little bit of our background, the background of our company, what we do, and then kind of take you on our digital transformation or our digital journey, if you will. It started a long, long time ago and may not be what you would imagine we'd have gone through on our journey. But I'm going to try to take you through that. But start out with sharing a little bit of information about our company with you. So we are, let me flip back here. I'll go back. We are located in Rochester, New York. So we're over in Western New York, about an hour from Buffalo, New York. What we consider to be the strengths of our company, and some of this is for customer consumption, so bear with me, but we consider our equipment, the large array of print technologies we have, to be a strength. Capacity, we have 2 facilities with overlapping capabilities, and really from a business continuity standpoint, when we're speaking with certain clients, that's something that's appreciated. Our ISO system, our quality system has been ISO certified since 2006. We go through recertification audits every 3 years and then internal audits annually. Client care team, they stay with our clients for the life of the relationship. I'm kind of old fashioned in that I don't like it when a client or prospect for that matter calls in and says one day they get Bob and the next day they get Barry, the next day they get Ashley. I want them to know our customers inside and out and live with them through the life of the relationship. Under capability, I've got listed there just a diverse product offering. And as we talk, we're going to go through some of those, and you might scratch your head, which I do, because sometimes I think we're into too many things here. But our whole mission is speed and service. I have to be faster and outservice the big guys if I want to compete with them, and that's the story of digital printing in our facility: speed and service. Very broadly, our revenue drops into 4 buckets: product decoration, and that's everything in our world from cans of beer, bottles of wine, packages of cookies, prepared meals. But decorations also found on furnaces, fire trucks, hot water heaters. Industrial labeling, that's durable goods labeling. Our company was really founded and grew on industrial labeling, or the durable goods space. But in reality, over the last many, many years, New York State has chased a lot of the manufacturing out of our state. So we've kind of morphed a little bit more into food and beverage, health and beauty, and grocery. Retail signage got dragged into it kicking and screaming by a couple of customers. It's still a chunk of our revenue. We'll get into that in a bit. And labeling systems for us is simply Zebra printers, print and apply systems, ribbons, blanks, and software. That's a chunk of our business. Sometimes it supports what we sell, in that we may sell a high-speed labeling system, or if we may back into printed labels at a customer location because we've sold them a Zebra printer in the shipping department. But again, 4 broad buckets of revenue. You probably can't even see this, but we're in 2 facilities side by side. I think we'd be better off in one, but as we grew, these are the facilities that became available. We're separated by a couple hundred yards of grass, but our facility at 235 Metro is customer service, sales, finance, and HR. Digital print operations occupy the back of our building. Across the street, pre-press, planning, flexo, screen print, and a whole host of finishing operations. I should have mentioned earlier too, as we go through this, if you have questions, I have no objection to answering really anything that pops up. We all tend to learn from each other in these things, and feel free to raise your hand and ask any questions if I've said something interesting or wrong. This is our company brief. We were incorporated in 1980. We are still privately held. Annual revenue was $25 million. We touched $26 million. I think it was, 2021, 2022, we touched 26 million. We have 123 associates spread between 2 facilities, 51,500 square feet. our print operations, flexography, screen printing, and a host of digital devices. Digital print right now is about 54% of our annual revenue. So about, what would that be? Oh, $13 million of our 25 million annual rev is printed digitally and growing every year. Maybe a little weird thing, our average order is $641 across all that we do. That's driven down a little bit by some e-commerce things we'll talk about in a moment. But we push through about 32,500 transactions a year in an average of about just shy 7 days. And our average revenue is $97,000 per day and roughly 151 shipments a day. So there's a lot of things moving very quickly through the facility. I wouldn't say that we necessarily have better systems, but outside my door, there's a lot of heroes moving things through our facility. Not a lot of time here, but just broadly, some of the places we find our labels. And I simply went through some of our larger customers, said, this is what we do. So we're involved in consumer brands, a bit of health and beauty, coffee. Prepared meals took off a bit in the pandemic, as did craft breweries, a little bit of nutraceuticals, snack food, grocery. Still have a couple of pump manufacturing companies in our geography. Industrial medical gases is a very good space we operate in. Industrial vacuums, HVAC, and then on the next slide, food, beverage, grocery, industrial tools, heavy equipment, signage, lab equipment, and exercise equipment. Just some places where we find our labels. Again, most of the folks on this call know what I'm referring to, but industrial durables, again, products intended to last greater than 3 years. We spend a chunk of our revenue comes from equipment, primarily in the rental space, the large equipment rental companies like a United or a Sunbelt. A little bit of HVAC, exercise equipment. In the middle, I kind of call that product decoration, even though it kind of falls into the other areas as well. But prepared meals, food and beverage, distilleries, wineries, cannabis, and then the third slide there, or the third portion of the slide, retail signage. Strictly internal. We don't do external signage, or at least we do it very rarely. Specialty processes that are pretty much required in our label space now. Hot foil stamping, cold foil lamination. We added a digital embellishment unit about a year ago. We do flatbed laser finishing, roll laser finishing. Bit of folding boxes, variable imaging dropped off on me there. Variable data. I make a distinction between the imaging and the data. I look at variable imaging as barcodes, whatever it might be, barcodes, names, addresses, things like that, but variable data, every label on the roll potentially being different. Kit packaging in the signage space. We got involved in direct print to objects. Maybe I'll get into that a little bit later. And oops, folding boxes, I already had that one up there. So we were a company that started off the typical garage operation almost 40 years ago, for goodness sakes, with a flexographic press. That business grew. A screen print operation was acquired in 1984, and together those two grew and were our company. But in, believe it or not, 1997, we bought our first digital device, and this transition has just continued. Digital roll, digital flatbed, primarily for signage, and then this digital direct to object. So we're morphing, we're transitioning. The challenges kind of led us down the path we've been on. SKU proliferation, shorter runs being requested, reduced lead time being demanded, the necessity for e-commerce, and those four things needed to be operate in a competitive fashion. We had some inconsistent color, honestly, in our Flexo space. I'm kind of reminded of the story. I went with one of my reps to a customer, and They had several of our previous orders shingled on a piece of white paper, and embarrassingly enough, every one of them was a different color. So that was us, though. That's just us. Waste in the Flexo area, space. We continued to grow, and space became a problem. Finished goods inventory also. We had grown our finished goods inventory to $1 million thereabouts, and we just can't afford to have $1 million in cash tied up. So now we pretty much go digital on demand with our customers. We have kind of pushed that, and we've reduced our finished goods inventory by nearly, I think it's right around 40% reduction in finished goods inventory, freed up that cash. And I kind of added staffing. That's one that I've added in the last year, 18 months, because I don't know about the folks on the call, but staffing in our geography has been brutal. It's been rough finding folks, more so in the traditional print areas like Flexo and screen print. Digital printing and the digital devices are far more attractive, particularly for the younger folks. We do have a couple of RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology grads, running our digital equipment. And I think we've got some questions on staffing, and we could probably spend all day on it. This really, folks, is nothing more than a slide I used when I had those students in for a tour of our facility, and we showed them and we talked to them about a Flexo press and kind of scrunching up their forehead, maybe not so much, and then we showed them the screen print area. Those are pretty cool, but okay. And then we took them into our digital space where there's I think 9 digital devices, and this was certainly more attractive to the folks we had, the students we had coming through the facility. Would you rather, run this one, or would you rather work on this one? So that's kind of what that was all about. So our digital assets are these. Our workhorses are the 3 Durst presses on the left-hand side of the screen, or left-hand side of the slide. The Durst Tau 330 came with a laser finishing system. That was bought off the Label Expo show floor in 2014 and installed in January of 15. Success we had with that moved us into the RSC 1200 by 1200 DPI, much higher speed, I think 262 now, up from 162. And then January, as Barry mentioned, we added the I, and the I is typically 262, but we'll run it up to 328 feet per minute, depending on the artwork. And then we have several other digital devices. The HP Indigo 5600 is our, it's really a screen printing press for our company. It's it's the sheet fed unit, and we're typically subsurface printing on Lexan, laminating 3M adhesive, and then either traditional steel rule die cutting or laser cutting. We still have a 6K, Vanguard flatbed, an OSE, an Epson. The Epson we happen to use for banners and signage, a couple of direct to object devices, and 2 Gerber edges. And that is really kind of jumps me into where that transition started. In 1997, there was a little bit of a traveling road show going through the Rochester geography, and they were touting this at the time, 1997, this digital device, a Gerber Edge. And we've been trying to figure out how the heck do we get out of these small quantity, quick turn screen print orders, because screens and inks and it was difficult. So we saw this Gerber Edge, and we said, oh my goodness, no films, no plates, no dies. Not necessarily Rembrandt quality, but outdoor durable. So we bought one, we installed it. Had great success moving small quantities out of screen print. That success led us to, and folks, we could only buy equipment that we could afford. We didn't try to get out in front of our skis financially. So we had success with the Edge. So then we saw these roll and print cut machines, and we said, my goodness, maybe we can move some small quantity, quick turn flexo work off flexo presses onto these roll and print cut machines. So we bought two of them, and we use those to print banners. We also use them to print the tiniest little labels and then back up and cut those labels. So we had a couple of devices. Then we moved into I guess we started to move into the bigger, more productive devices. We had an HP Indigo S2000 sheet fed press, which is a screen printing press for us. We did indeed have a couple of 4500s and then a 6K, but that was long before UV inkjet came to the speed and quality it is today. In the finishing space, a year ago, we added the Say Label Master, which has just been a terrific piece of finishing equipment. It has really augmented our finishing area. It was really purchased to replace the Spartanix laser that went end of life. It was coupled with the Spartanix laser was coupled with the Durst Tau 330 press. We thought when we bought it, we would run it inline, and we thought wrong. We ran it 95% offline. Our operators preferred to run the press flat out at the speeds that it would run and fiddle with the laser cutting later. So we had a machine that was, the press glued together with the laser, but it was a rarity that we ran it inline. And inline, offline, nearline, I consider that to be a whole separate webinar someday. We could be on it all day. We do have Graphitronic CF2, digital die cutting unit. We have two Digicons, older ones, ours are Series 2. Two Graphitronic HI3s, inspection, slitter, rewind units, outfitted with cameras for quality inspection. Universal flatbed laser, a Digicon SRI, inspection, slitter, rewinder, a couple of Graphitronics, and a couple of Gerber plotters. So those are our digital assets doing all kinds of crazy things in our facility. Jumping right into the Durst equipment. 2014, we were introduced to Durst. We did not know Durst prior to Label Expo 2014, even though they were located in Rochester, New York. We saw the Durst Tau 330, and we thought that this press, with the durable ink, the speed at the time, 162, then 10, almost 11 years ago, that was pretty good for a digital press. We thought it could be the unit that could help us transition more work out of screen printing. We actually have several UL recognized constructions off the Tau 330 press, which kind of gives you an idea of the durability and the light fastness of the ink. But what we got when we invested in 330, we got Durst. They are a fascinating, incredible company with terrific people and just terrific support. The reliability of the press, essentially the uptime, was second to none relative to other roll digital technology we had at the time. Service has been exceptional, and I always qualify that and say we're cheating because we're in Rochester, New York, and they're in Rochester, New York. So our service has been just outstanding. The ease of operation of the press, it's hard to go as far as saying if you can run a cell phone, you can run a digital press, but relative to Flexo with webbing a press with 200 or 300 feet of material and mixing inks and getting the color, oh my God. The pre-press sends a file over to any one of our 3 Durst presses, and we're up and running in minutes. Speed at the time, 162 feet per minute. Image quality, again, at the time, what we wanted it for, durable goods, caution warning labels. It was absolutely acceptable quality, very sellable quality. Durability of the inks, critical to us for what we were doing. Super opaque white got us into printing on clear materials, which we hadn't done a lot of before. The laser finishing in line, I guess that was the sizzle with the cell that never really took off. We never really ran it in line. And just a couple of things that were important to me, uncoated materials, because we were paying an uptick at the time for coated materials for other digital technology, and zero clicks. Of course, we pay for ink, and we have a monthly service charge, but just getting out of that's a Bob thing. He's getting clicks were irritating to me. So 4 years later, Label Expo 2018, we see our friends from Durst again. Now the RSC press is introduced. You still have Durst, a terrific company with terrific service and folks. More speed. Now we're up to 262. And in our world, that was fast. And the press runs as advertised. When you turn it on, it's not as if you start out at 100 feet per minute and crank it up to 262. You turn it on, and depending on if you're using white, it's running 262. And in our world, small quantities, quick turns, lots of different materials, we never run a flexo press that fast, sadly enough. Then the 1200 by 1200 DPI came in and allowed us to compete with other digital technologies. I actually, here in the office, did a very unscientific test. I just took 10 files, ran them both on a piece of digital technology we have, and I ran them on the Durst Towel RSC press and said, guys, tell me the difference. Most of them couldn't tell the difference between the two. And then I had the quick charges and ink charges listed and said, guys, I need you to push roll digital activity this way because of the speed and the productivity. This press came with Durst Analytics. It was new to us, but you'll be able to get more data out of this press than I think you can get on anything else. Uptime, service time, ink cost. Barry could probably get into Durst Analytics a lot better than I could. Liability and durability, you've got the super opaque white, the uncoated materials, and zero clicks. Then the next Label Expo, we get introduced to the RSCI. Same thing, Durst, incredible folks, incredible company. Now we're up to 328 feet per minute, depending on art. We don't run at 328 all the time. We run at 328 when the art suits that speed. 1200 DPI, the Durst Analytics. Now we have chill rollers to run unsupported films and lighter weight liners at 0.92 liner. And the other thing, same as before, reliability, durability, super opaque white, uncoated material, zero click. So that's kind of how we went about acquiring those workhorse digital pieces of roll digital equipment. I'm getting jumbled up there. These are the actual stats from our press. And as we go along, to me, it just gets more impressive each year. But the 330 installed in January 15, and we kind of call that our durable goods mid-range label press. We've run $21 million worth of revenue through the press, 34,000 orders, an average order value, sell value in our space is $633 a piece. We've consumed some ink, 9,381 liters of ink, but we run 128 million linear feet through the press and printed 275 million labels since installation with precious few problems. 19, the RSC is installed. We consider that in our environment a prime label press, mid to long run. We've already pumped through $19 million in revenue. It's quickly catching up to the 330 because of the speed and the size of the orders we're running. We've processed 11,000 orders. Average order value much higher than here because, well, the orders are bigger, so $1,700. We have consumed some ink, 21,000 liters of ink. This particular press is mostly where our craft brewery orders run, silver with a whole bunch of white underneath. 169 million linear feet and 337 million labels produced since installation. The eye, RSCI was installed in January. We consider that to be our prime label, long run press. $692,000 worth of revenue, 341 orders, and so on. I don't want to bore you to tears with all this data, but 31 million labels printed. We have virtually moved all color out of Flexo, all process color. We'll run spot colors, 2, 3, 4 colors, but virtually all color is here in the building I'm in. And I mean, in our facility, it's kind of there are times when it's kind of a sad story that we're moving color out of Flexo, but honestly, it's the path of least resistance for our customer service reps. Easy to estimate, easy to enter an order. Sometimes no dye is included if we happen to go laser die cutting. It's just become the path of least resistance and the speed machine in our facility. Let's see, we got, yeah, this is more for customer consumption, but we all know on the call that sustainability is back in vogue again. Digital printing inherently is more sustainable print, less waste, less energy. I've calculated quite simply that, by the number of orders we run times an average of 4 plates, that we've saved 183,000 Flexo plates from not being processed, mounted, removed, cleaned, stored, and ultimately landfilled. Maybe we should be doing something different with them, but that's us, and that's what we're doing today. And I estimated simple math again. We've saved 8.5 million linear feet of label material by not having to web a 200 or 300 feet of material versus maybe 60 feet of material in our digital presses. We have gotten involved with the Raffle-Attack Rack Cycle liner recycling program with a couple of customers where their spent liner is being picked up and recycled. Armor EMAC just introduced a program at least a few months ago to us where they're willing to take back spent thermal transfer ribbons. And then we offer sustainable material options when possible and when people are willing to pay for it, quite frankly. So all these moves, particularly with the Durst presses, would be expected. We expected to reduce cost, improve throughput, and that speed through our facility. And we expected to migrate existing work from screen printing, Flexo, and toner-based digital printing, which we've done. We anticipated acquiring new revenue. But what really happened, our experience was we acquired new initially because people heard of and our sales rep began to sell this digital on demand, pretty high quality roll label printing, I guess I'll say. We've experienced a pretty significant reduction in finished goods inventory, and that continues by going digital on demand with our clients. We have indeed converted from screen print, toner, and Flexo. We've had zero supply interruption in ink or any supplies necessary for our Durst presses. I was asked the other day about how much do we keep in the way of parts and spares, and the answer is zero. Aside from the press, we have ink, and there isn't anything in inventory related to press parts. I think folks who install this UV inkjet technology will go through a continuous discovery phase. We have two-sided window decals with the reinsertion technique. It's dead on, print, flip the web, laminate the adhesive, and then depending on what finishing is required, die cutting after the fact. Printing, we have a label 45 meters long. I know it sounds crazy, but we do. 45 meters long, and there are no interruptions in that print. Other orders, channel strips on rolls that used to be supplied as individuals, now they're supplied 250-foot continuous printed rolls. So you'll go through a phase of continuous discovery, and I'm probably forgetting a lot of things that we've discovered over the years. And I feel as though we've future-proofed our business at TLF. I probably 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago when people were talking inline, nearline, offline, I would say there's no way that we can go inline. Too much waste. We go up and down too frequently on different materials. I think we have 175 materials qualified for UV inkjet printing. We're up and down. I'm beginning, because of all the improvements in hybrid presses, I'm beginning to think that that part of our future, it may not be mine, may not be part of my future, but it could very well be an investment that's coming in the future, a hybrid press for longer runs and inline without having to do the offline finishing. Challenges, just, again, when we bought our first UV inkjet rolled digital press, there were 5 materials qualified in the States. Now we've done the homework for a lot of people. Laser cutting wasn't new to us, but roll laser cutting was, and it created a bunch of internal confusion. When do we go laser? Inline? When do we just use the Durst press? When do we use the laser? It kind of created some internal confusion, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention finishing. My personal take on finishing is now we're printing so much so fast that your finishing equipment has got to be 2 to 1. Now, I think in the recent years, some of the finishing equipment companies have popped up their speed significantly, but at the time that we began to invest and continued to invest in digital printing, we had to have a 2 to 1 situation with finishing equipment, and now we really do with the CF2, the 2 ABG Digicons, the SAVE Label Master, and inspection rewind equipment. So maybe it's a caution. You think about finishing very carefully, because the presses are going to run as they're sold to you at the speeds and quality that they're being sold to you at. I'm not going to spend any time on this. This is early on. We transitioned some. These were just 5 orders that we happened to transition from screen print to the 330, and these particular 5 orders. This was when they ran the very first time, we went from 155 hours down to 43, 112 hours in labor savings, which was probably far more significant because these orders continue to repeat. Locally hot for us, I have to say, and you probably all know this, that craft breweries took off during the pandemic. We went from revenue of roughly $300,000 to $2.3 million in craft breweries alone. I think we have 175 breweries under our belt. Without digital printing, the speed with which they run, we could never have attacked and grown that space to where we are. I just can't imagine. Just had some data sent to me, but in last year we ran 3,599 brewery orders, 15 million labels, and those are all in 5 days or less. That's what they expect. So I just don't know how we would have excelled in that space without the UV inkjet presses from Durst that we have. We're involved in wineries. We're in the Finger Lakes region of New York State. We probably have 400 or more distilleries, cideries. Cannabis was just made legal. I haven't figured out how I feel about that personally, but there is a business opportunity. We started to do cannabis labels, and they seem to be all small quantities. And my God, 240 versions, 180 versions. It drives you nuts, but we're doing it. Health and beauty, industrial durable, where we can locate it. Retail signage and prepared meals. That's kind of the space we live in. ISO certification. Our facility is UL certified. We have many UL recognized construction. EcoVadis certified ITAR, and we have a Lean Six Sigma Gent on our staff. I think that's it for me. I've killed you with these slides, but that's our story. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And you did not kill us with all of the wonderful stats. I mean, though you shared some amazing stats about your label printing of your business today. I really can see, Barry, why you invited Bob to be, the expert for this event. I also want to say we have a great group here. Thank you to everyone who has been sending us questions throughout the event. A reminder, if you haven't sent a question and you forgot how to do it, you send a question for Barry and Bob at any time by using the Q&A module on your webinar console. Okay, so let's start with the question sent in by Chuck at Marathon Label. I believe that's in Wisconsin. Chuck asks, how can UV inkjet be used for flexible packaging in food and other consumer product markets?
I can take that one, Bob. So UV inkjet, as far as printing on materials, we can print on it with the DERS RSC platform. We can print on a ton of different materials, including unsupported films that are used in flexible packaging. The thing about UV inkjet is, and by the way, we do have also a low migration ink specifically for flexible packaging for food-based flexible packaging manufacturing. That being said, you really, with UV inkjet, you need to have a barrier. The challenge with UV inkjet is the potential for migration of the ink at a molecular level through the material, through the flexible packaging material. As long as you have a barrier, no issue there. UV inkjet is not something I'd recommend for direct food contact. I think you'd be hard pressed to get a food company to accept UV inkjet in direct food contact applications. But if there's a barrier, or if the barrier is questionable, then you really have to do some testing and see if there's zero migration, or if there is migration, if the level is acceptable by the Food and Drug Administration and companies that monitor that, organizations that monitor that.
Thanks, Barry. And why don't we go to Michael's question next, because I think he's asked this question a couple times in different ways, or he's very interested in this topic. So Michael, the latest question was a bit of a specific question for Bob. He says, how has a change in your equipment impacted printed barcode quality? Then he goes on to ask a few follow-ups. So let's start off with that one. How has a change in equipment impacted your printed barcode quality?
Michael, we're doing printing our barcodes in two primary methods. We're still using Zebra printers for small quantity quick turn barcodes for various customers. We do have two Omron barcode verification devices that provide us that grade our barcodes. But honestly, the difference in the quality of the barcode from Zebra to, for instance, the Tau 330, I don't know that I can say there's any difference in quality. It's just a matter of where we're going to run it based on the quantity. Are we going to take this over to the high-speed roll digital press, or are we going to leave it in what we call imprinting here in our facility? And I think I asked a little while ago what they're called Omron Microscan LVS 9510 units. That's what we use to scan and grade our barcodes. I hope that answers it. That's just how we operate here.
Fantastic. And Michael has a few follow-up questions, but I'm looking at the time, and Michael, and it's like, I hope you forgive us, but we are going to, it's like we have your questions. We'll share them with Bob and Barry so that they have the questions with them, and we know that they're important, but we also want to give everybody a little time to talk, especially since, I'm going to call you Kay because I can't pronounce Keqi. He's asked this question multiple times in different ways as well. And so it seems like this is a very important question for him. And so Kay asks, are you able to digitally create a metallic silver effect with UV LED curable process and metallized surface? And then asking kind of like, how is Santa Claus real? How?
Barry, I guess I'll take that. Kay, we run a ton of silver, Bob, and we do indeed create um, uh, silver and gold effects using our UV inkjet presses. Is the camera is the camera still on me?
Yeah, we can see you.
I mean, I've got, these are the kind of things that we're producing, and I don't mean to be heavy on the beer space, but it really, for us, it all starts in pre-press. There's a variety of ways for us to create that silver look. Easiest and simplest way is to print on BOP with yellow ink, and the amount of level ink or to create gold, or the amount of, or the artwork to allow the silver to show through. That happens in pre-press and isn't much adjusted at press. But we also, we use hot foil, we use cold foil lamination, and then we use our digital embellishment unit to come up with interesting effects. And I know these are probably difficult to see, but we do indeed create silver and gold look. And we use a variety of processes. The simplest, yellow ink on top of silver with our RSC press.
Fantastic. Okay. Oh, we have so many great questions. So should we talk about the Industry 4.0 guys, or should we talk about some of these digital finishing questions? Where would you like to go?
Is that Ashley, Bob, or Barry question?
And that's a Bob and Barry for me. So we're coming to the end of the event, so I want to make sure we get to the questions that.
I guess after the event, I'd be happy to answer any questions about where we are. But on Industry 4.0, no expert by any means. But I'll tell you where we are. We've invested so heavily in digital print and finishing equipment on the back end. We kind of feel like we've got that covered for the moment. Now we're up at the front end. We happen to be on label tracks. I happen to have a love-hate relationship with label tracks for a couple of reasons. But every time we add, for instance, $1 million in revenue, I can't keep adding to my 13-person staff of client care people outside my door. We're working on process automation to have activity handled without humans. So we started with low-hanging fruit, robotic process automation, robots going into label tracks, pulling reports, and every morning when I come in, I have 8 or 10 reports in my inbox, incoming revenue, shipments from the previous day, on-time delivery, that kind of stuff. Then we moved into order entry, and we took some of our largest repeat order customers. Those are being entered into label tracks with no humans. We get an order through our e-commerce site, and it's into label tracks in 60 seconds with no humans. So I've pulled 1,700 orders off the desk of that particular client care person. Now we're moving into accounts payable, invoices from Flexcon, Fason, Raflatech, Tecra, couple of die companies. Those invoices are all being entered into the label track system without humans. So again, not an Industry 4.0 answer necessarily, but we are addressing the front end now as aggressively as we can. And we're utilizing tools from a company by the name of UiPath, UiPath. Quick answer, sorry.
No, great answer.
And if I can just add quickly to that. So I mentioned earlier, we're focused on pixel to output, and Bob mentioned a couple of his slides, he had mentioned Durst Analytics. So since we develop our own software internally, first and foremost, we have integration into multiple CRM platforms. The data can be tracked as to what the press is doing. With analytics, it's a cloud-based software that you can literally from your phone see the status of the press, see what jobs have been run, how much ink has been used on a particular job. There's all kinds of data that you have access to, that you can see, that you can pull to use in other things. So as Industry 4.0 and the Internet of Things become more and more prevalent in our industry, we're right there with software development to support it.
Fantastic. Great Great answers, guys, and very, very different answers and very, and approaches, the whole area of Industry 4.0. It needs to be fed analytics and data, and then the data has to be moved and used. Let's end it with one, actually, I'm looking at the clock and I realize that we are out of time. So thank you so much, Barry and Bob, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for sending your wonderful questions. On behalf of Packaging Impressions and DERS, thank you for attending today's webinar, but don't leave yet. Coming up next is your opportunity to influence the webinars we bring to you. If you would just take a minute, fill out the brief feedback survey that will appear on your screen next, we would be grateful. Your feedback will influence the webinars we bring to you in the future. After the survey, you might want to check out our webinar page to get information on all of our archived and upcoming webinars. Thank you again, and I hope to see you all at the next Packaging Impressions webinar.
Thank you very much for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.